What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our Week 18 preview and picks. As always, I have Ethan joining me on this week's video. But before we get into it, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Get us to 500, where we will be doing that giveaway. But before we get into our video, we got to look at last week's picks. And here we have last week's picks going almost perfect in the 1 o'clock window, besides Philly and Tampa, pulling off some upsets. And then the only game we had different was the Cleveland and Washington game. And I had Washington before we did this video, and then I switched to Cleveland just because I felt like we needed one game different. And it worked out in my favor, and I went 13-2, where Ethan went 12-3. And obviously it was a no contest now because the game is canceled, the Buffalo and Cincinnati. But out of all these games, which one do you think was the best to watch?
All right, so man, that's tough. That's a tough one. I gotta go with all right. Well, for me, obviously, I'm gonna talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Steelers were trailing almost that whole game, and the only reason was because of a blown unnecessary roughness call on Cam Hayward. So it's nice to see the Steelers bounce back in the second half, and Kenny Pickett really looked good.
For me, I got to go with my Packers, obviously blowing out the Vikings. But I think the biggest surprise was Philly losing to the Saints to clinch number one seed.
Yep.
And, they still have the shot this week. All they have to do is win. But we'll start with the Saturday game. Chiefs at the Raiders. I think this one is pretty much a no-brainer. Chiefs are still playing for, warm-up essentially. And they don't know what is the official word for the AFC playoffs yet. So there's no reason to rest their starters, and somehow, some way they could, get screwed here. But if they win, and they get the one seed, if they lose and then the Bills win, then the Bills would have the one seed because they would be 13-3, and obviously the Chiefs would be 13-4. So the half game is going to matter for these Chiefs, but I don't expect them to lose this game. And, Jarrett Stidham did put up a good performance last week, but I don't think he's going to repeat it this week.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't think Stidham's going to go crazy like he did last week, throwing for over like 350 yards. But I do think he has some talent. He looked really good last week. But then again, the Chiefs, their defense has been playing really well lately. So I don't think there should be much of a contest here. Chiefs should win it pretty big, especially with with that one seed on the line.
And then at night, you have the battle of the AFC South. Whoever wins this is a guaranteed spot in the playoffs. And the Jaguars do have a shot at a playoff berth, even with a loss. They need Miami, New England, and Pittsburgh all to lose to get in. I don't think that scenario is going to happen because the Jaguars are just going to win this game at home. It's a big game. Jaguars are playing their best football they have these last few weeks, and the Titans, well, they're on a 6-game losing streak right now, and things are not looking good. They're starting Josh Dobbs. They do get Henry back, but that's the only positive sign. If Henry rushes for 203 touchdowns, then maybe the Titans win this game, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, definitely. Derrick Henry is him being healthy is huge for the Titans. Starting Josh Dobbs, really not good. Jacksonville should win this one. Trevor Lawrence has looked really good. He's been the best quarterback in the league the last 6 weeks, and that's including all the Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts. That's what I think. Leading this team back to 8-8, and I think they have to get this done here and make it 9-8 and be able to host a playoff game.
And moving over to Sunday, we have a game that doesn't really matter for either of these teams. The Bucks, obviously aren't favored in this one because they're going to be resting a lot of people. Falcons just improving Desmond Ridder as he looks into next year. And obviously Mariota this week, there was a report that came out, he's pretty much given up on the Falcons. So he more than likely won't be back next year. But I'm still going to go with the Bucks here on the road. I haven't decided. I don't know if it's Trask or Blaine Gabbert yet starting for the Bucks, or maybe it's Brady for a series or two, but expect Brady to not play the whole game if he does start. And, I just think the Bucks have more talent around, every position group compared to the Falcons, as we've seen this team, really get into a next gear, this Bucks team, and still have them comebacks and put themselves in a position to win. And I think they still finish the season with a winning record.
Yeah, I think that the Falcons are going to keep this one close and win it in the final few minutes. I mean, Tampa, as you said, they don't they're not really playing for much in this game. They already have a home. They already have that 4 seed locked up. So I think the Falcons are just playing for pride here, and some crazy things happen in Week 18. And I think this upset is very doable for Atlanta.
And then a game that really matters for these Bills because obviously it's going to be a very emotional, setting in Buffalo. I'm assuming, they're going to honor Damar Hamlin. Maybe there's an outside chance that he could get to the game. I know it's Friday right now, and he FaceTimed the team this morning. And, who knows what can happen in these next 48 hours, but that would be an awesome sight to see if he's at the game, supporting his team and whatnot. But I'm sure he will be mentioned. I'm sure they'll wear like a helmet sticker, a patch, something to honor him, and it should be a great scene. And it's gonna be tough for them to come out on the field and play with a heavy heart, but now they can use that as motivation this week because it's only gotten better from what happened on Monday night. And then you got to flip the script if you're a Patriots fan and a Patriots player. Like, how do you go into Buffalo knowing this is going to be the big scenario? And it's bigger than football this weekend, but you still got to go out and play a game. And at least you have Bill Belichick. He's probably the best coach to take you into any environment, no matter if it's good, bad, sad, happy, whatever. Belichick is the guy that can, weather the storm. But I don't think it's going to matter this week just because, the Bills have too much to play for in this one and they're going to get it done.
Yeah, the Bills have too much to play for. They can win that 1 seed with a win, and obviously they're playing for Damar. So I don't see this one being close. It's going to be an emotional game. Josh Allen, if you fantasy owners, I don't know, Week 18 fantasy owners, I don't know if you guys are playing this week, but if you are, you have Josh Allen. Happy championship.
And then at 1 o'clock on Sunday as well, we got the Vikings and the Bears, and the Vikings are pretty much playing for a postseason spot. They can still, I believe, get the 1 seed. I think they need a lot to happen, but it's probably not going to happen. And these Vikings, have struggled here in the last month, but I don't think they're going to struggle in this one, like going against the Bears. And I think it's Nathan Peterman is going to be the starter for him because Fields is already ruled out. I just can't see the Vikings losing to him.
I'm taking the Vikings as well in this one. Bears without Justin Fields is obviously huge. They're not going to be able to move the ball. Although this Vikings defense is atrocious, I just think the Vikings are going to have too much firepower, and Justin Jefferson should have a big game this week, and the Vikings should be soaring their way into the playoffs.
And then you got a very big game. Well, it should have been a big game before last week's, situation. You have the Ravens and Bengals, obviously a big game for the AFC, not just the AFC North, but just AFC seeding as well. But the Bengals have already clinched the AFC North, and they're just playing for seeding at this point. And I think it's going to be a big win for them at home. The Ravens have not looked good at all with Tyler Huntley starting, and he's going to start almost 100% sure in this one again. And obviously the Bengals and Burrow, they've looked really good. They're on a 7-game winning streak right now. And I think after this week, they're going to make it 8.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you here. You hit it spot on. Tyler Huntley and this Ravens offense has not moved the ball since Lamar went down. I mean, they're averaging about like 13 or 14 points a game, which you can't beat the Bengals with 13 points. There's just no way, especially when the Bengals actually need a win here. So they're already clinched the AFC North, but got to take the Bengals here over the Ravens.
And then a game that doesn't matter. This is just for draft picks. If the Texans win and the Bears lose, then the Bears would have the first pick and the Texans would have the second. And I think that's what's going to happen here. But it doesn't matter. They're going to take their franchise quarterback because the Bears don't need to do that. So I think why not play for a win here and, possibly get some looks at some younger guys.
Yeah, definitely. I just figured no one really cares about this game, and the Colts have been just free falling as of late. So going with the Texans here, they've looked good other than the last week, with only scoring 3 points, I think. But yeah, the Texans really playing for next year, and they're gonna draft their quarterback with the whatever first or second pick.
And then a big game for the AFC, and this is the one of the other scenarios. New England has to win, and they're in Buffalo. But then the next scenario is if Miami wins, New England loses, Miami's in. And I don't think that's going to happen either. And I think the Jets are going to go on the road. Joe Flacco is going to have his one game he has every year has a backup quarterback when he is started. He has a game that he just absolutely goes off, and I think this is going to be the game. The Dolphins are free falling. Nothing is going their way right now. Skylar Thompson and Mike Glennon
Yep.
are the two quarterbacks on the roster right now. And, neither of those guys are like very good at this point in their careers. And it's just hard to bet against the Jets. They have a lot more to play for with eliminating a divisional opponent.
Yeah, Jets. See, this game has a lot of meaning, but it's not going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be a defensive game. Miami does have more weapons in this game, so that's something to watch out for. Miami could definitely sneak this one away and win this one, as they are favored by 2 points. But obviously, with the Patriots losing and now the Dolphins losing, in my picks, I have to take the Jets. Like, there's no other chance because we know what the next scenario is. That's the Steelers making the playoffs if they win. So
And then we
easy.
got a game that doesn't matter. It could have mattered if the Panthers would have won last week, but they did not. And now they are here at 6-10, looking forward to next year and a head coaching change, quarterback controversy, just a whole U-Haul, rehaul, whatever you kind of want to call haul for the Panthers next year. And the Saints, a disappointing year yet again for them. So this game doesn't matter. So why not? I'll go with the Panthers.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with the Saints just because we need some more. We need some more picks that are different here. Make it more interesting down the stretch.
And then we got your Steelers, and this is the team that's making the
Table
AFC
towels.
for me and obviously you as well. I'm not really confident in Kenny Pickett right now. And Deshaun Watson is coming off of his best week for the Browns. So it's going to be, I think, a slugfest, an ugly slugfest. But Kenny Pickett has always been the guy this year to lead his team down the field and get the win when it matters most. And it's going to be one of those games yet again. He's at home in Pittsburgh. And I just think that it's going to be just like last week, probably maybe a little higher scoring than that, but it's going to have to come down to a final drive. And I like Kenny Pickett in that situation.
Yeah, I think if the Steelers can stop the run with Nick Chubb, the Browns really have not looked great offensively. I know you said that's their best offensive performance, but they only scored 24 points, and Deshaun really didn't look that good in my opinion. So I think T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, and the guys are going to have a lot of fun sacking Deshaun Watson a few times here this week, putting a lot of pressure on that run game. I think the Steelers are going to be able to capitalize on offense. And Kenny Pickett is a dog, so I don't know what you're talking about, but Steelers are the playoffs.
And then starting off the 4 o'clock games, you got the Chargers who already made the playoffs and Denver who's playing for absolutely nothing, it feels like, because, they don't have their pick. So this game is just more of a pride game for Russ. And it doesn't matter because I'm going with the Chargers. Because when you think you should bet on Denver, you should never bet on them. They just never show up when it matters. And I like the Chargers. I'm sure Chase Daniel is going to get some action along with some, backup guys, Josh Kelly, and, the whole running backfield and wide receiver trio. So I like the Chargers here on the road.
Yeah, me too. This game doesn't really matter, but it's because the Chargers will already know. I believe if the Ravens lose, the Chargers can just bench everybody because they're locked into that 5 seed. However, if the Ravens win, which I think it's possible, and the Chargers will know. Either way, the Chargers just have a better roster. Can't pick the Broncos here.
And then before we get into this one, you can't see it because I have a green screen, but that's awkward. But I got DeMar Hamlin. They're gonna wear a patch on him. It's number 3. Got the number 3. If you can kind of see it right there. You got the
Yep, I
number
see it.
3 on the jersey, so they are honoring him. But then we got this game, a big game for both of these teams. Giants are still playing, I believe, for a spot, seeding wise in the NFC as they already clinched. And then the Eagles are playing for that 1 seed still for the 3rd week in a row. All they have to do is win and they get that 1 seed. And if they lose and Dallas wins, then they are falling into the wild card round and they won't be hosting a game either. So I am going to go with the Giants in the huge upset this week. Philly's favored by 14. And I don't care. I just don't like the Eagles right now. The Eagles are trending down. The defense is getting banged up. And the offense has not looked good under Minshew, besides the Dallas, obviously doing really good. But then last week coming out and laying an egg just didn't sit right with me. And the Giants are trending in the right direction here yet again. So give me the Giants.
Yeah, that's a bold move. I'm kind of surprised that the Philly line is so big with Minshew starting as well, or starting still. But I'm taking the Eagles either way. I think it's going to be a close one, and it could go either way. But taking the home team, they really need to win here to secure that momentum back. They're really in free fall mode, it seems. I mean, after two straight losses, from being 13-1, it feels like you're in free fall mode a little bit. So you don't want to be playing in that wild card round if you're the Eagles. So give me the Eagles here.
And then you got the Cardinals and Niners, and the Niners can still get the number one seed. All they have to do is have a Philly loss, and they get a win, and they have that one seed. It's definitely entirely possible. They're favored by 14 against the Cardinals. I don't know who's starting for them. It could be Blau again, or McSorley, or McCoy, and that's just their story this year. They don't know. They don't have any consistency. And the Niners are the complete polar opposite. The defense been very good every game. Offense has been off the charts. Doesn't matter who's starting for them. So give me the Niners here at home.
Yeah, give me the Niners at home. Definitely. They still have to they still could win and get the one seed as you said. So that's why I think they're going to be playing hard and end up blowing out the Cardinals here.
Then you got the Rams and Seahawks, and this is the big one for the NFC 7 seed. If the Seahawks win this game and a Detroit Lion, win or loss, or Packers loss, the Packers definitely need to lose for these Seahawks to get in. So that's the only thing that's in play here. The Rams, obviously, if they win, then they help out the Lions and give them a shot for the 8 o'clock game. If they win, they're in. And obviously, the Rams, got help last year from the Lions getting Stafford. And maybe they're going to return that favor this year by getting a huge win to knock Seattle out and give the Lions the shot they need.
That'd be awesome, man. To be able to see a win in end game on Sunday Night Football again, like we got last year. That'd be awesome. But I gotta take Seattle here. I think they're gonna control the clock and just a really boring win against the Rams. Just a lot of runs, a lot of play actions to the tight ends. I do think Seattle's the better team here. So give me Seattle and give me the Lions getting eliminated from the playoffs, which is sad.
Then you have Dallas and Washington, and Washington is officially eliminated after last week's debacle. Carson Wentz has been awful. They're starting Sam Howell this week. Taylor Heineke was going to be the starter, but he suggested that they should start Howell because he's finally healthy and back again. He suffered that foot injury in the preseason. And respect Heineke. He is a guy you want on your team all the time. He always puts his teammates first and whatnot. And Washington, I think, has kind of screwed him over this year, starting Wentz late just because Heineke had one bad game and, they replaced Wentz and he came in and did decent and started him the next 2 weeks. I don't think that was right. And that's why Washington finds himself out of the playoffs. But we flip it to Dallas. Dallas can still win the NFC East and the one seed. They need an Eagles loss and a Niners loss. And then obviously a win against the Commanders. And somehow, some way, this Dallas Cowboys team finds himself as the number one seed in the NFC. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there is a good chance it could, but they need to pray for a miracle.
Yeah, they need a miracle. I think the Eagles loss is much more likely than the 49ers loss against the really abysmal Cardinals team. So I think if anything, Cowboys are going for that 2 seed, and I think they're going to get a win here. The momentum for the Cowboys have been pretty good after that Jacksonville loss. Obviously that comeback really kind of hurt their momentum there, but they came back from it. They adapted, and I think if they win this game, they're a team that you don't want to see come playoff time. They got that defense, and they have the firepower on offense to be able to upset anybody. So let's go.
Then the last game of the week, we got my Packers going against the Lions. And according to you, this is a win and in game for either team. But for me, it's only a win and in game for Green Bay. And I think it's not going to matter what happens in the Seattle game because my Packers are going to get the win here. They, have won 5 of their last 6 and really turned the season around. This team was 3-7 at one point, and everyone already wrote them off. But you can never write off Aaron Rodgers in the regular season because somehow, some way, he always puts himself in a spot to clinch the 1 seed, clinch a bye, clinch the division, something like that. And here he is just trying to get into the playoffs. And every week he's gotten better and better with the rookie receivers. The defense has started to step up and make some big plays, even the special teams as well, with their first return touchdown last week since I think it was 2011, I believe. So it's been a while since that's happened. So these Packers are clicking. And same with the Lions. Jared Goff is not getting enough credit in the media for doing what he's been doing this year. He has better stats than Rodgers right now these last 4 or 5 weeks. But everyone's praising Rodgers for getting his team back in the playoffs. But Goff still hasn't thrown an interception, I think, in 6 or 7 weeks. And that's not getting enough love either. So I got to respect the Lions here.
Yep.
It's going to be a hard fought game. But, I can't pick against my Packers here at home in prime time.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think you got to respect the Lions. They really came out of nowhere. Nobody thought they were gonna. I mean, other than Detroit fans, obviously, who say they're gonna win every week, but nobody really thought the Lions would come back and show this much pride. Really great season for both of these teams. Really, both coming in with good momentum, and I just think the more experienced quarterback is gonna take care of business at home here in prime time. So give me the Packers over the Lions. I think it's going to be a good game, really entertaining. And if the Lions can score some points, they definitely have a shot. But I just think the Packers are going to score with much more ease and clinch that playoff spot.
And that's going to be it for the video this week. Obviously, you got to honor the Bills and DeMar Hamlin. So we got to put their picture up there of them all praying for him. But make sure you guys come back next week to see how we did in the last regular season week of the NFL and to see our playoff picks for next week as well. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
Peace.
She never called back.